Let's move on, guys. We're going to talk about what's going around right now is a copy of the ARL initiative. Who has not seen the ARL initiative?
Wait. There is no ARL.
There's not?
No, we're working on it right now. Where did you get it?
I'll just say So a draft.
There is not even a draft.
Why don't I waste my evening paper on this?
Let me hand that to you because
Okay, let me go to the home drawing and say
that looks an awful lot like a marijuana initiative for Arizona.
It is a marijuana initiative for Arizona, but I haven't had a chance to look at this, so I can take a minute and look at it. But part of the issue with
Excuse me, just a nice word here. Not everybody knows who you are.
oh, I'm Gina Berman, and I'm the chair of the ARL campaign committee. But part of the issue, and I think what Tom said at the end of his talk was really resonates with me, that we need to make sure this is the right initiative. This is like Play-Doh. This is a new industry. This is something that we can make sure is right. There are problems with the AMMA. We can try to fix them. So I think part of the issue and the dissatisfaction was not that it's not like an anti-MPP or an anti-Gina, hopefully, but this is just people who may not see things the same way. And I think that what my issue was, and I think this resonated also with the dispensary owners, is that it wasn't the right initiative, and we thought that we could do better. And
Can you speak up, please?
Oh,
yeah.
They thought they could do better.
So,
Gina, you want to just
and
stand up there?
okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I haven't prepared a speech or anything like that. This is not. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't
We're
know.
informal
That's
here.
normal.
We're informal.
But so the issue is that not that MPP is bad or not.
Gina
that,
Berman, everybody.
or not that we're right or that we're wrong, but just we felt like we could do better. We came to a point where there was a crossroads, and we were told that there was an initiative that's going to be filed, and we could either support that initiative or not, basically. And I won't go into any further detail, but the consensus amongst the dispensary owners was that it wasn't the right initiative. There were still things that we wanted to change. There were movements in the direction of filing it, such as filing with the Legislative Council. That's the first step. They review it for 30 days, and then you can file it with the Secretary of State. And it got to the point that it was filed, and the representatives for MPP were moving in one direction, and we couldn't go with them. And so there's a lot of other noise with that, but the end result was we thought we could do better. And again, I feel the same way Tom does. We wanted to do it what we felt was right. And we may not agree with that, and MPP may not agree with that, but I think that what I would like to see is if we can come together and find our commonalities and figure out what we're going to be able to work on. If we can continue to go back to the table and continue to negotiate, I don't know if that's possible at this point after almost 4 months, but we'll continue to try. And my ultimate goal is an initiative that works, an initiative that can be passed, and the end of prohibition in the state. And I've been accused of wanting to continue to put people in jail and wanting to have people continue to be arrested for this, for the use of this plant, for the possession, use, and growth of this plant, right? If that were true, I could easily support the opposition. There's a very strong no campaign. But instead, the right thing to do is to try to pass an initiative that's going to end prohibition. So I'm going to stick my neck out, and I'm going to piss a lot of people off, which is very clear because
I hope you do.
And,
I hope you do.
And go a separate route. The ultimate plan and the ideal plan would be for us all to come together. And I don't think it's too late for that.
I'm
Even though
recording
my
something.
actions may portend a different motive. My motive has always been what we call Plan A. Plan A is for everybody to come together. If that could be possible, then I would be much happier than if we go with Plan B, because being a fraction does not make the industry look good. The email that got into the paper, I would never condone the release of that email. I didn't support the release of that email, and I don't know who did it. But it was the wrong thing to do for the industry because it makes us all look really bad. you know, this is nothing that I have against anybody at MPP. I have all the respect in the world for Ryan Hurley. And again, I hope that we can mend these bridges and that we can move on in a unified voice. That may not be possible, but we'll continue to try.
So how is yours different from MPP? Said they were going in the wrong direction. How does yours go right?
Well, we wanted to amend it, now that we have the pen, let's say we have the pen and we're starting fresh. We wanted to amend parts of the AMMA. And, well, there were parts about the licensing, there are parts about the patient growth, and we have an attorney now that's looking at those issues to see what we can do to change those issues. Can we go back into the MMA and change it? We were told by an attorney not from the state that we couldn't do it, so if we can, then we will.
Why do we need an attorney?
What? Why do you need an attorney?
Right, okay guys, hold on.
And
Hold on, guys.
let me be
One
really
at a
clear.
time.
Let me be really clear. I'm supporting this movement. I'm not an attorney. I'm not part of the drafting process right now, and I'm not part of the negotiations with FPP. I've been removed for very clear reasons from those processes. So when I see a draft, then I will know, but I don't know. And there's another group of people who are working on it. So I wish I had specific answers for you, but I don't.
We're trying to get a clear idea on what does Gina support? What do you have to have in an initiative?
Well,
The things that Tom said, do you agree with those? Is that what you're rallying for?
You know,
You're talking in riddles, that's why we're asking questions.
I have a point to
I was
raise.
asked to come here.
One question at a time.
I
Yeah,
don't have
no,
any
no.
question I can share.
Let's keep
So-
respect on the floor.
I'm just, I'm just.
We're having an
Just
open
what?
discussion.
I mean, what? Like, I'm not getting clear
And
what you all are.
and I'm telling you, I'm not, and that's why I'm telling you, I'm not part of that process right now. And I'm telling you that I am waiting also to see, what does the attorney say we can do with the AMMA? At the last meeting of the Phoenix Cannabis Coalition, Tom brought up the firearms. I don't know, I'm not an attorney, I don't know if you can correct the firearms issue and citizens initiative. You know, these are things, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know those things. I don't know what you can
Okay,
do.
well,
So
you
you're
can
just
talk
asking
about
really
that.
good people out of prison and jail for marijuana offenses beyond 1 ounce of marijuana?
Yes.
It does. It would decriminalize other, like, possession
I
for
don't
sale,
know- I
things
don't
like
know-
that.
I don't know.
Because that's our main goal, I think, like you said, is number one, is like keep
Again,
people
I
out of
don't
jail
know,
and prison.
I don't know the law, I don't know up to what level, but yes. I think the overreaching goal is to keep people out of jail, out of prison for the use of this point.
My main goal is to engage the leaders within the legislature in a way that's reasonable for them and us, to engage them in the civic space where neither industry nor, sociology or anything besides this. This is political science, right? So what we need to do really is to engage them in the civic space where neither politics nor industry is really involved. And in between that is where our wishes are to be engaged.
How would you engage the legislator without having politics or industry involvement?
That's why you have to lobby, you have to kind of wine and dine them, just like the others
This is a
have been
citizens
doing.
initiative, this isn't a
Yeah,
legislative.
the topic is not legislation,
idea,
but it's an initiative.
Hi, my name is Mark Berman, I'm from the Yavapai County Cannabis Coalition.
Yay,
My
yeah.
Ms. Stacy, I'm gonna try and rephrase your question. If I'm wrong, you can yell at me.
Thank you.
You are a board member or an owner of the Arizona dispensary, right?
On the medical card.
Okay, you're the you openly participate. Do you have any financial interest in the dispensary?
So I get paid for that.
Okay, so you get paid for the dispensary. Okay, so you have some kind of interest. In a perfect world, what are 5 key points you want to see in your legislation, your piece of legislation, your initiative? Perfect world. I think that's what you were trying to get at.
Yes, thank you.
I'd like
And
to
not as a personal, individual person, as a dispensary, a member of a dispensary, a medical.
just from the dispensary's perspective?
Yes.
Yeah,
Speaking on behalf of the ARL, I guess.
well, I'm not
There you
speaking
go.
on behalf of the ARL,
Well, no,
you're
because
asking me
they
to
just
speak on behalf of the
said
dispensary
you got removed from
association.
the drafting process.
And I'm not speaking on behalf of the dispensary association, but anytime that somebody speaks from a business perspective,
Five key
the
points,
owner wants.
5 key points in initiative, in the perfect world that you want an initiative.
Let me just kind of explain how I got into this, okay? So, hold on, and that'll lead me to the 5 points. Okay, so I got into it for the medical aspect. I realized that the social justice aspect is equally, if not more important, okay? So I think the number one thing that we would all like to see is to have people stop going to jail for this, or going to prison, stop being arrested. I will say that I'm from California. My father has a cannabis garden. He enjoys his garden. I think people should be able to grow the plant. I think they should be able to use the plant. It's relatively harmless. So you can brew beer in your home. You should be able to grow a plant. And but you need to be responsible about it. So those are 2 things. I want to see access. I want people to go. I want the mentality of this community to change from, comparing marijuana to alcohol. Marijuana should, be a first choice when you're going to take control. It shouldn't be a narcotic. Marijuana is a safer alternative to drinking alcohol, as Mr. Safer's t-shirts. So, I think that's important also. I think that if we can realize that cannabis is safer and that the downsides are much less severe than other drugs, then that's important. If you can get marijuana from a safe place, then you're stopping people from going to drug dealers who have other items in their treasure chest.
Okay, I got a quick question.
Wait,
We have
let's
all
go.
heard this before. Can you just get to the point on what are
He's
your?
asking me the five-
I know,
yes,
but
it's
we
5
we all know that,
Because we're
Raz.
trying to figure out
So,
why we should vote
yeah,
for your
like-
initiative
like,
instead of
honestly,
yours.
I've heard
Give me a sec, my question, give me a second. Let us finish up.
She's in the middle of answering the question.
And while I agree with your point, let's get on to where you
But
want
sir, she's gonna take the entire night to answer your question
I
if we
understand,
allow
I
her
understand.
to.
We'll
So
start with
because of
Everybody needs to take a deep breath. We love the passion. Thank you for the passion.
Cut it
But
down.
we're here to express
Is-
what we're
Goose Braba.
Let her answer questions.
That's what I want to say. What are you looking for that I'm not answering in the green shirt on your iPad?
What do you stand for?
I'm
That's
just.
what I stand for.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
I just think we
Let's get
can
to
have an
the point.
educational lesson, and I guess it's supposed to come into our community.
I don't know I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for.
We want to see text.
So, okay, all right, hold on, guys, hold on. Wait,
I'm not-
hold on. There's a difference here, guys. You asked her what her personal opinions are
No,
But-
Pastor, as a medical director.
Point of order.
Yeah.
as a medical director.
5 key
Who
points
I
in
am.
this
Please,
initiative.
somebody.
But he would like to know the stance from the ARL.
On what?
Well, and I think I
Right?
can help clarify that.
Yeah. I understand. But I understand what your dad did. I appreciate what your dad did.
I'm not asking for your
Oh,
vote.
oh
I'm
no,
not
I
asking
know,
for your vote.
and I'm not. Yeah, but you are like apparently in aren't you in cahoots with these people writing this stuff, or don't you have some type of saying of something? I
I
mean,
think he's asking, aren't you associated
Let
with
me
the ARL?
summarize. A lot of this,
Okay.
a lot of this had to do with poor communication between, and I know there's a couple of representatives from the MPP, and Brian Hurley's a fantastic individual, but he's not empowered by the MPP to negotiate on the MPP's behalf. Carlos over here is from the MPP. Again, he's not empowered by the MPP to negotiate on the MPP's behalf. A lot of the issues that stemmed, that was the conflict between the industry and the MPP, had to do with a lot of poor communication between the two groups. I think both groups are ultimately responsible. Along the points, both initiatives, I'm sure, are going to have the depenalization of all major crimes, down to misdemeanors or whatever. Both groups, hopefully one will have post-conviction relief. That is a Tom and Dennis special. That's very important to me as well as an ex-prosecutor. Post-conviction relief and the ability to erase misdemeanors and felonies is a huge issue. It's a giant issue. Both are going to have some form of grow your own rights. Those are all accepted. Both are going to have the automatic DUI thing. Both are going to have parental rights. Both are going to deal with hopefully gun rights. That's a new one that I just learned about.
That's a federal thing. We don't have much power.
Yeah, but we can throw something in there at the state level just for the shits and giggles.
Today, Kyle's been charged with burnout.
I'm gonna try to push it because Arizona's a
They're
pro-gun
not
state.
even
We love our guns.
it's not even allowed
We
to
love
be
our
allowed.
guns. Amen.
So let's try to get that in.
Some people will say, well,
Both hopefully will have. Can I continue? Because you wanted points. Both hopefully will have the organ donor issue. I mentioned the post-conviction relief. Both will defelonize hopefully most marijuana-related issues. the biggest issue, and I'll be frank about this, and I've been trying to explain this to people. How many here have a business or operate under a license? How many people here?
I have.
Yeah. Okay, so people here have licenses, and I explained this to my friend Ryan Hurley, who's attorney. How would he feel if someone came into his state and said, by the way, you're gonna have to go to law school again, you're gonna have to pay for that, you're gonna have to take a bar, you're gonna have to pay for that, you might pass, because it's a subjective process, and then you might be allowed to practice your craft that you've been doing effectively for a number of years. That is what is going on here, and don't be fooled for a second that that is not what's going on. Everyone here who is licensed in a profession should appreciate the position the industry has been in. In 2010, the wisdom of the MPP was to create a structure that could show to the public of Arizona and to America that marijuana could be safely grown, distributed, sold, and dispensed across the state of Arizona. What happened then in 2011, 2012 was a series of investments and legal fights by individuals, maybe some of yourselves in here participated as well. Gina did, and a lot of other people did. A series of legal fights, investments, personal reputation. She's a doctor. She put her personal reputation at stake amongst her friends. Everybody invested a lot of time, their reputation, and a lot of money in getting the system going for 3 to 4 years. Just recently, in 2014, it's come about so that this system that was set up by the MPP, and their wisdom, okay? Just recently, people have started turning into black, and many of you guys know dispensary people in here, and they're just starting to pay back these loan shark-like debts that they owe. Now you have a national organization from DC who's coming forward and saying, by the way, we're going to create another entirely new system, and you may apply, and you may be eligible. Well, guess what? How many of you would feel that was okay for your profession? And I asked my attorney friends, raise your hand if it's okay to create a new law school, okay to create a new licensing system, okay to do a new bar exam, okay to make you go through that whole process again, take all those risks again to do what you were already doing on behalf of the MPP's industry creative structure. Now, so that was the sticking point from the very, very beginning when the MPP sent down an initiative in January that said all the existing industry members may apply for a new license. May apply. Now, how would you react if in your license, in your business, as your consultant, if somebody tells you, by the way, there's a new sheriff coming into town from DC, and he's setting up a whole new set of rules, and you might be able to do what you were doing before, even though you invested all your time, money, and reputation to get there. So that, quite frankly, was the initial sticking point. Since then, it's just a series of bad communications. And all these other things, which we all agree on, and especially post-conviction relief, that's not in the MPP initiative. The industry initiative has not been drafted yet. It has not been drafted yet. That's going to be in the industry initiative. I'm going to fight